Alright, we're back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, here to talk about professional wrestling. I'll talk about all the action inside and outside of the ring, backstage curtain calls, rumor, dramas, and updates. We talk about superstar inactive statuses. Also, we talk about injury updates. We also talk about new signings, contract negotiations, and extensions. We talk about promotions from WWE to TNA to Ring of Honor, to AEW. If it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling, we talk about it here on this show. So make sure you guys, like, subscribe, follow the show so you guys can get some notifications whenever we decide to go live. All right, so let's go and jump on into some Drew McIntyre. But of course, before we do any of that, make sure you guys hit up that super chat button right there. It's gonna be absolutely lit. Don't ever think it's not gonna be anything otherwise. And don't be shy. Do not be shy. Never be shy. And we can have a nice freaking time. So recently on WWE Monday Night RAW, you saw Drew McIntyre come back into the fray of WWE, shocking fans, leaving them in shockwaves. No one was expecting the Irish Psychopath, the Scottish Warrior, to come back, especially so close to to the end of the year. Drew McIntyre was actually supposed to be absent until the end of the year. He had the attack on Sami Zayn. This guy, Drew McIntyre is really kind of the nowadays Randy Orton. He's not a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. He's not a good guy. But, he's going to go out. He's going to manipulate, social media, which he does very, very well. You've obviously seen that with his feud with CM Punk, the best in the world. Drew McIntyre is going to go out and do whatever Drew McIntyre wants to do. And either it's going to make him, into a name. I ultimately feel like he will end up into the WWE World Heavyweight title picture once again. At this point, it makes no sense for him not to be champion. It really doesn't. And I never, ever really want to call anybody like a bridge champion. Obviously, when I called Damian Priest a bridge champion, I felt super bad about it. And now you have Gunther holding the championship, and, Gunther's Gunther. Not that he would ever be considered a bridge champion. But, now you kind of have this guy. You've seen Gunther in this, he's in this conflict of character where, can he really do this? And imagine if Gunther took on somebody like Drew McIntyre right now. Drew McIntyre would absolutely dethrone, dehumanize, and beat the crap out of Gunther in his current state. And, be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And he was the World Heavyweight Champion, obviously. You see he had the cash-in with Damian Priest, Poetic Justice, yada, yada, yada. And, I don't want to see him and Punk go back at it again. I feel like Punk will ultimately... I feel like he's going to take his spot on WWE SmackDown. Sorry, excuse me. With this whole bloodline storyline thing going down with Paul Heyman, because there would be really no use for them. I thought Drew McIntyre was going to come back on SmackDown. I got to be brutally honest. I thought, he was done with a lot of what the Raw roster ultimately would, offer him. So I was like, it makes sense. Like, maybe he comes back. Maybe he sides with Kevin Owens. Maybe he takes on, the WWE champion Cody Rhodes. There was a lot of, potential opportunities for Drew McIntyre to kind of steer his career into a whole different pace. But now, after what happened on, WWE Monday Night Raw, it's clear that he wants to hurt the bloodline. He wants to hurt. It's, obviously nobody knew who attacked Jey Uso, but the number one culprit right now, obviously allegations and stuff like that. The number one culprit is Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre never liked Jey Uso. Even when Jey Uso jumped back into, when he was doing the whole yeet thing, he was telling fans, he was like, really? You're going to forget what this guy did with the bloody bloodline, costing me the championship at Clash at the Castle. This guy never, ever forgets. And this is going to be something that plays into his personality. This is going to be something that plays into his character. And it's going to be something that fans really can't really complain about or really kind of hold anything against him. Because you're like, all right, you kind of have Drew McIntyre feuding against people like Jey Uso. And you're like, oh no, Jey Uso, yeet this, yeet that. Like, reality, he screwed him over. Drew McIntyre was supposed to be a champion. He was literally 1, 2, 3 away from becoming the WWE champion from Roman Reigns. He was going to dethrone him. He was going to beat him. But then family. Then family happens. And then you have Drew McIntyre, upset with Sami Zayn for, but and the whole Sami Zayn thing is a little, kind of askew or anything like that. During the whole bloodline thing, during the whole Civil War, last, what was it? Last Survivor Series War Games, he was on a team with Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre chose to, be on the other team just to kind of get his hands on the people of the bloodline. And lo and behold, CM Punk comes in and he, starts a feud. As even Seth Rollins hated, everybody hated each other at that point. It pissed Drew McIntyre off. Drew McIntyre literally is in a position where, he's kind of like Kevin Owens. And you've seen these three guys, you've seen these three beloved characters kind of go through a character change where it's not really like, okay, they're jumping from face to babyface, because they were never like fully a babyface, but then again, they were never really fully like a heel. You can have Seth Rollins, you can have Drew McIntyre, you can have somebody like Kevin Owens attack people like Cody Rhodes and be like, you know what? At the end of the day, they kind of have their own, personal initiatives. And that's something I feel like WWE they should have been doing a long time ago. Of course have your baby faces. Of course have your, superheroes or whatever you like to call them. Super heels. Sorry, excuse me. And just kind of have those guys that, like, you know what? The fans are going to root for them if they want to. The fans are not, if, they're not going to give a damn about them if you're not, like, forcing them down somebody's throat. And WWE has had such a bad reputation of forcing people down their throats to be like, you know what? I don't want anything to do with it. If Drew McIntyre would have came back as a total, completely changed man, if I feel like him attacking Sami Zayn was the only way for him to come back. And, Sami's obviously Drew McIntyre. Like I mentioned before, we can see an anti-bloodline faction kind of form. You can see, Seth Rollins as like a new Shield with Kevin Owens, with Drew McIntyre. You can have all these potential like different storylines that Drew McIntyre could fit. And he fits so well in them because literally he's the guy you love to hate and he's the guy you love to love. If this guy, becomes a complete POS, and you'll hate him for a year, and then in a year and a half, he has a redemption story, and he comes back, and by, 2 years as of today, Drew McIntyre will be a WWE champion. Drew McIntyre will be absolutely loved by the wrestling universe once again. He does it so damn well. He does it so damn well. He could be such a great heel. He could be such a great face, and it's, it's kind of cool. Drew McIntyre has been away from WWE for about 2 months. Bronson Reed's injury has been reported, and it has influenced Drew McIntyre's sooner rather than later return. Last time we saw McIntyre, he was in a brutal Hell in a Cell match at WWE Bad Blood where he took 16 staples at the hands of CM Punk. And like I said, he has problems with the bloodline. And, he's, even Triple H Paul Levesque said he was dying to come back. He wasn't hurt. He was not injured. There's a lot to unfold here. Drew McIntyre took to social media. He took to Instagram and he said 4 words: "What have I become?" WWE is clearly giving Drew McIntyre a shot at becoming the face of WWE once again. And that's something that a lot of fans might kind of, fail to wrap their hands around because, think about it. We got WWE Monday Night Raw coming to a big streaming conglomerate like Netflix. They want John Cena. They want Roman Reigns. They want Cody Rhodes. They want The Rock. And nobody's ever going to expect somebody like the Scottish Warrior Drew McIntyre to kind of implement and solidify his name as a potential WWE champion. And, there's so much storylines happening right now, causing people to think that WWE putting the strap on Cody Rhodes right now seems like it was the bad move. Because like if you think about it, you're like, okay, you have so many people coming after Roman Reigns. Imagine if Roman had the belt. Imagine if Roman had the title. There would be so many different storylines you can keep toward WrestleMania. Right now, you're kind of like, you know what? Cody Rhodes taking on Kevin Owens at WWE Saturday night's main event exclusively on NBC, streaming simultaneously on Peacock. If Kevin Owens loses, I feel like that's a big problem. I got to be honest. It's to the point where the Kevin Owens character right now is in such a fragile state that if he loses to Cody Rhodes, this could be the end of Kevin Owens. This could, he hasn't signed with WWE yet. No reports have been said. It's been said that, WWE gave him an offer. He declined it. He was hoping that AEW would match it. AEW failed to match a deal for Kevin Owens. And, Owens was like, I don't want to take that either. So is he really going to go back into free agency? I doubt it. Which kind of ultimately makes me think that, the reason why they turned him heel was for like future aspirations for him to maybe eventually be a title holder. And when I say title holder, I'm not necessarily talking about the WWE Championship. I'm not talking about the World Heavyweight Championship. Faltering down, and I'm not saying down to like it's a bad thing. Like maybe he's like an Intercontinental Champion, or maybe he's a United States Champion. Who knows? It could happen. But, it's to the point where it's like, all right, once Cody Rhodes defeats Kevin Owens, what's next? Like, literally, dude, what's next? What can you do with Kevin Owens? What can you do with Cody Rhodes? And this is something that, especially, Netflix. Especially with Netflix, accumulating WWE. They have a 10-year deal. After 5 years, they have a decision to opt in or opt out for 5 more years. That would basically be the home of, WWE's flagship show, Monday Night Raw. So having somebody like Drew McIntyre on your roster, it's good. And WWE, obviously, with this Drew McIntyre character, needs to, kind of handle, kind of need to tread lightly a little here. But ultimately, I'm looking forward to WWE with the Scottish Psychopath backstage causing ruckus. I can't wait to see. I think it's going to be great. All right, guys, so we do not go anywhere. We're going to jump on into our 5th and final segment. I got some potential free agents, some wrestling stars to be signed by WWE heading into the Netflix era. So, hey, do not go anywhere.